The transfer portal is booming, and the Texas Longhorns get their man.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Back into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal news. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football writer and recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off of your first purchase. There's so much information to get to today that I've got 3 pages of notes, like 8 or 9 tabs open, in addition to the one that I'm using for this podcast. And I still had to cut out quite a bit. So a couple of notes. Number 1, there will be multiple podcasts today. Multiple, just on the kids entering the portal. That is almost as close to a given as possible. There is going to be a lot of information. Second, if you want to find individual profiles, somebody that goes into the portal, I am adding them daily. There's going to be a whole bunch of them. I'm probably going to do a bunch today and tomorrow, just given the basic statistics, how many games they played, snaps, pro football focus grades, all of that. These will be 2 to 5 minutes apiece, depending on the player and how much time they have already spent in college football. So note that you can find the Portal Podcast on YouTube at the Portal Podcast. It is going to have all those profiles. So let's start off with Emmett Mosley. Goes from Stanford, obviously the unfortunate Troy Taylor situation for the Cardinal. He is leaving. He is Emmett Mosley V. His father played at Notre Dame, and his mom was a really good athlete at Notre Dame too. She might be the better athlete, actually. And his brother is committed as a 2026 recruit to the USC Trojans. So very athletic family. This is a young man that I think will be a big-time player for Texas. Sark knows how to scheme it up. And they have complementary pieces all over the place that can be explosive. Mosley is not what I would call a pure deep threat. And for those of you who are on YouTube right now, I'm going to share my page to kind of go over some of this. But just note that Emmett Mosley is a player that catches the football. He's very consistent. And he's only played 1 year. He's only played 1 year. So what does that mean for him in terms of his ability to get open, make plays? Well, you got to remember, Stanford didn't have the same level of depth at receiver that like Texas does. So that's first thing you need to know. And secondarily, players as a general rule make a jump from year 1 to year 2. So 48 catches last year as a freshman, 67.6 yards, or excuse me, 67.6 was his target ratio. He was targeted 71 times, 525 yards, 10.9 and 6. So 10.9 yards of reception is not exciting, but he was the underneath guy. The 6 touchdowns, though, shows you that he was reliable. Ask Louisville. He scored 3 touchdowns against the Cardinals in week 12. That game, I don't know what was going on with Louisville, but targeted 14 times, 13 catches. Holy cow, that's incredible. The other stat that I find interesting with him, looking at his numbers, just kind of going through it, on another page, I was goofing around on PFF and just looking for something unusual. Again, he's not a deep ball guy, but the intermediate, that 10 to 19 yard range, he is really, really good. So with all the speed that Texas recruits, this will be your money guy on 3rd and 6. The player that if you don't roll coverage to him, Stanford, again, they don't have the same level of overall talent that Texas does. Sark's going to find a way to get him the football. If you look at his grades offensively, 68.2, receiving 72.7, drop 70.2, and then fumble 76.3. He's just a consistent football player. So will Texas have a guy that is going to be just a dominant player from play 1? No. But they're going to have a guy that is every week going to be consistent. And like the Louisville game shows, he can go off. Whatever Louisville did in their scheme that game, don't do that against Texas. Emmett Mosley V will smoke you. Next up, I want to talk about a quarterback that I think is really underrated. Now, Gio Lopez is a guy that many players kind of have to go through this. They don't get the offer they want out of high school. He's like 5'11", 6 foot. He's a quarterback, real strong guy. He has power, but he's not a guy. He is not a guy that got all the offers. So he ends up at South Alabama. He's played 2 years, and he's been consistent as a runner and as a passer. That is the key, too. It's not one or the other. he can flat out make plays. So if you look at his statistics, this is baseline of what he had. Offensive grade 81.4, passing 70.6, running, I'm going to come back to that in a minute, 86.1, and then fumbling 61.2. He had some fumbles. That needs to get cleaned up. But as a passer, completions, 205 of 311, 65.9%, 2,556 yards, 8.2 per attempt, 17 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So he is 3.4 to 1 on touchdowns to INTs as a redshirt freshman last year. That's pretty good. His sack avoidance isn't too bad. He only had 15 sacks, and he played a lot of games too. So 356 snaps last year. This is a good football player. He got beat up some, got hit, came back into games, etc. But they use different guys for different things in these offenses in today's world. So I know he's going to be a guy that gets more snaps moving forward. Can he handle the P4 level is my question. Can he handle it off the field, family pressure, going to a big-time school? Possibly. But the numbers are pretty good. South Alabama's got a pretty talented program, and they're a growing program. But with him in the portal and him having 3 years left, Gio Lopez could be a guy that ends up at a major program. I don't know. Maybe even Tennessee. I don't know for sure. I have really no idea what's going to happen there now that the Nico Iamaleava situation has blown up. But Gio might get a call from Tennessee. Who knows? He might get a call from North Carolina. And in fact, somebody from 24/7 Sports thinks he is. He's getting predicted there. We'll see. But here are the other stats for him that are interesting. Passes of 20 more yards. So the ball has to travel at least 20 yards per PFF for this to even come into the category. 21 of 51, 41.2%, 759 yards, 14.9 per attempt, 9 scores, 2 interceptions. If you can throw the deep ball, teams are going to like you. Gio Lopez can do that. Again, 759 yards, 9 touchdowns. That's pretty good on the deep ball from 50 passes. And he's also a pretty good player under pressure considering for a young guy. This will go up with time. Under pressure, he was 45 and 91, 49.5%, 559 yards, 6.1 per attempt, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Not the greatest pick ratio, but again, young player. He handles the blitz pretty well, but the thing that he probably needs to work on the best is reading coverage, zones, and different things. That is very customary for a young signal caller. But I like Gio Lopez a lot. I think this is a guy that has the upside that you're looking for if you're a major college football program. You're not always going to get an elite quarterback out of the portal. You're going to need to take somebody that is still transforming into their highest level. Gio Lopez is that player, and he's a good runner too. 73 for 540, 7.47 scores, and he had 5 runs of over 15 yards. This is a true dual threat signal caller. I will be surprised if Gio Lopez does not end up at the P4 level and a starter in 2025. And again, he's got 3 years left. 3 years. This could be a really unique scenario for somebody. There aren't a ton of teams that need a quarterback, but again, Carolina and Tennessee are 2 of them, and maybe he goes somewhere and competes. Who says that he has to go somewhere where it's guaranteed to be slotted in for a starting role? It's up to him. He's obviously talented. He can take his skills wherever he likes. When we come back, we're going to talk about Jaydn Ott getting in the portal. That surprised me a little bit. The Cal running back. I'm going to talk about some transfer offensive linemen. It's a little bit better than I thought it was going to be. And then I'm just going to go down the list of the top players in the portal that all the guys kind of going through. That is next here on the Portal Podcast. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's an electric arena, and with Gametime, you can be a part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Gametime makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, even with demand being sky high. Prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer, and their last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. Last-minute deals, there's a good point here. Up to 60% off buying last-minute for sports. You can get it for concerts. You can get it for a play, theater, whatever it is. Last-minute tickets are very available on Gametime. Also, do you hate it when you see a price for something, then you go to the register and you find out it's a lot more? That doesn't happen with Gametime. They have all-in ticket pricing. So the price you see at the beginning is the one you will see at the end. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Jaydn Ott is one of the most explosive players in college football. And although he was pretty much a banged up player from the beginning to end last year for Cal and was playing behind a mediocre, let's say, offensive line, he's still going to be one of the most sought after players in the transfer portal. He is not a guy that's going to have to wait very long. Running back from Cal that is just explosive. I had a chance to see him play last year. I'm not sure how long it's going to be before he finds a school, but I doubt it's going to be long because he's a home run hitter. I'm going over his grades from 2023. By the way, this is not 2024 for those of you that are on YouTube, and I'm going to read this off to everybody else listening on Spotify, Apple, and everywhere else. So in 23, when he was actually healthy, he was banged up most of last year. Offensive grade was 87.9. Running grade, 89.3. Fumble, 71.6. Running the football, run blocking was 61.1. He's a guy that can catch it a little bit too, but his main thing is running the football. Cal had a pretty decent line in 23, and it really regressed last season. 229 carries in 23 for 1,257 yards, 5.5 yards per, 11 scores, and 3 fumbles. The biggest thing, though, 15 plays of over 15 yards running the football for Jaydn Ott. Explosive. Now, this past season, he fell off big time. He only averaged like 2.9 yards per carry. He just could not get healthy. I saw him play against Auburn, and they really stacked the box and tried to force Cal to throw, which they did and won, but they took Jaydn Ott away. He's a guy that's explosive. If you can get him to that second level, he will make the first guy miss, and very few football players are going to catch up to him. He's a little over 200 pounds. He has natural size to play the running back position, but again, it's just about pure speed. When he hits the crease, he's a guy that can score. It will not be long for Jaydn Ott to find a home, and I think he will be one of the most coveted players regardless of position in the portal, because if he's healthy, there's no reason to think that he's not going to be an elite football player this next season. Next up, we want to talk about some of the offensive linemen here, and there's been a lot of discussion about who's good. Are there going to be offensive linemen in the portal? And I just want to go over a couple of guys. It's not anything specific here in terms of an order, just so you know. I still think Xavier Hill, who's already committed to Colorado, is the best guy that's entered the portal on the offensive line. He started at guard in both tackle spots. He played at Memphis. But there still are some pretty interesting players, and they're coming up from like FCS schools. And there's a couple of players that are FBS that have started a little bit, like Jalen Early from Florida State is getting in the portal. He's a guy that's been up and down, but he has the size. He's been in college for 3 years. Somebody's going to want him. But today, I'm going to talk about a couple of different players. The first one up on the board is a guy that I don't think many people probably know much about, and I really had to research him too. Tyler McMillan, Southeast Missouri State. You're probably like, Brian, how do you know what's going to happen with him? I don't. But that's what makes the portal so awesome and so crazy at the same time. You don't know. Here's the situation with Tyler. He is not a good, he is an elite, at least at his level now. He played at Southeast Missouri State. He is an elite pass protector, 85.1 last year. The only game that he struggled per Pro Football Focus was against Charleston Southern, 58.9 in that game. Every other game, he was in the 70s, if not the 80s. That's pretty impressive. Now, on the other side, he's not a run blocker, 57.2. So this is an experienced player, but one that just isn't that great at run blocking. You know what you're getting. I don't know how you translate that to the next level, because like, especially if you're in the Big Ten or the SEC, you got to be able to run block. And it's not like he's not a big guy, 6'6", 315. So maybe somebody takes a chance on him and tries to put him in their lineup. Wouldn't surprise me. But with the grades being so different from pass to run, I really don't know how to put it into perspective. But he's a guy that's gotten a lot of snaps. He started a whole bunch of games at left tackle. He started all the games last year for Southeast Missouri at left tackle and 708 snaps. He's durable. That's important. He only gave up 4 sacks last year. Again, how do you grade him, though? He's at Southeast Missouri State. I don't know the answer to that, but it's something that is very, very fascinating. Another guy that is also interesting to me, and I don't know if he's better at this, but he's another guy that started at left tackle from South Dakota, is Joe Cotton. Joe Cotton is a player that, just like Tyler McMillan, the experience is there, the size is there. I mean, he's a big dude. He's 310 pounds. They're almost identical in size. He's not somebody that's going to struggle when it comes to getting on a block and making plays. And he's probably, if you look at his grades, he's probably a little more consistent. Final grades, 77.3 for pass protection. He's a better run blocker, 82.8. Offensive grade overall, 81.1. And again, Cotton plays at South Dakota. As far as sacks, this says, according to PFF, he didn't give up a sack. He only gave up 1 hit and 9 hurries. That's pretty good. Overall snaps for him, 723. And again, Joe Cotton at South Dakota played left tackle, started every game. Even against Wisconsin, the best team they played, his grades weren't horrible. 61, 64.2, and 65 for offense, run blocking, and pass protection. Big guy, 6'7", 310. This is probably a player that's going to go where he wants, and he probably already knows. He might be the best player available among offensive linemen, but again, he's going from FCS to the Power 4. That's not easy. We'll see where he ends up, and this is a fascinating story. I hope that he does well, and because I just root for guys like this that didn't get their shot out of high school, that put in the work and end up being good. Next, I just want to talk about a couple of players in general. This is where it gets complicated in a different manner. You have players that are, how we say this, they're good, but they just get beat out. Maybe there's a guy at their school that's even better. Jalen Early, let's start with him. Florida State offensive lineman. He played tackle, struggled last year, moved to guard, really good run blocker, really good. Played over 300 snaps, had 6 starts. Now, Florida State's offensive line was abysmal, but he has potential, and he'd been in the program for 3 years. He's in the portal now. Probably better at guard, but his run blocking grade's over 80. 300-pounder that has proven run blocking ability. Somebody's going to take him, but he can't pass protect very well at all. What do you do with that? The other guy that's interesting to me from Penn State, a school that really transformed its offensive line this last year, and in the process, he got passed up, J.B. Nelson. In 23, J.B. Nelson was a starter for Penn State for a lot of the year. Interior offensive lineman, massive, 6'5", 320 pounds. But he lost his job this past season. Penn State had one of the best O-lines in the country, no question. What do you do in terms of grading him if you're a staff? How do you do that? He didn't really play that much last season, but he started the year before. That's a difficult scenario. Is it medical? Is it just that he flat got beat out? Does he not get along with the O-line? I have no idea. These grades are really interesting because there are so few offensive linemen that have quality reps at the P4 level that enter the portal. J.B. Nelson, you could argue, is the most valued in that regard of anybody that's in the portal. Xavier Hill, who I love, he still played G5. He started at LSU, didn't even start a couple games, but he started his career at LSU, transferred to Memphis, and blossomed. J.B. Nelson was at Penn State, so he knows what it looks like to go against elite players up front. Every day of practice was the hardest thing that he went against. That's a really unique situation. Somebody's going to give him an opportunity, while other programs are probably going to look at J.B. Nelson like, he got beat out. We're not so sure we're going to pass. That's a unique scenario that I could see going in many different directions. But remember, above all else, there are just very few offensive linemen in the portal. There just aren't very many. He's probably going to get more opportunities than you might think. He might even get more money than you might think because it's just supply and demand. When we come back, I'm going to do the rundown and talk about some of the best players that are in the portal in the last day or so. We got a long list, some guys that might surprise you, but that is next here on the Portal Podcast. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. The best part about it, you can keep track of everything in one place so you don't spend too much on things like dining out, food delivery, Ubers, or anything like that. And you can do it with your partner as well. You can set your personal goals and get everything you need in one spot with Monarch Money. And that is an easy way to do it, because finding all your different tabs and everything and spending, I know I go out more than I should. If I had it in one place, I'd probably do a little better. And that's something I've started to do myself. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. The rundown of players that have entered the portal in the last 24 hours, it just depends on what site you go from, who you've been told, like my contacts. You can't officially enter until the 16th, so we got another day. But this is just a good chunk of some of the top players and some guys that are looking for a chance. Maybe it works out. Maybe it does not. I'm not saying that I have the full list here, but this is a whole bunch of players that we're looking at. So let's kind of go down the list a little bit and just kind of get an overview. I'll make a few comments on some of these guys as we go through. Brent Helton and Wade Helton, offensive linemen, obviously related there. They're twins from Iowa State, are in the portal. Emmett Mosley, who we discussed at length, headed to the University of Texas from Stanford. I think he's going to have an impact big time. Max Reese, tight end from Eastern Michigan, is in the portal. Jack Cowgill, defensive lineman, Washington State, is in the portal. We got Joe Moore, defensive lineman at Missouri from a Power 4 school, is in the portal. Already talked about Gio Lopez. I really like him. South Alabama, 24/7 for whatever it's worth. I don't know how much stock I'll put in this. Has him pegged to go to North Carolina. Chavez Brown from North Texas has chosen USF. Linebacker, 6'1", 245, old school player. We got Americ Humba from Michigan entering the portal. He is a defensive end. You got Kendrick Gilbert, a defensive lineman from Cathedral High School in Indianapolis that went to Kentucky for 2 years. Big, wide-bodied kid. He's got a lot of upside, but hasn't played a ton. He's very intriguing. I think he'll end up at a P4 school. Andy Jean originally started at Florida, transferred to Pitt. He is now back in the portal. He's a wide receiver out of Miami Northwestern. Steven Johnson, defensive lineman at Michigan, 6'4", 330 pounds. Somebody's going to take a look at that. Big man, a lot of size. You know that's going to get some opportunities. Speaking of size, Josh Horton, he's about 300 pounds, University of Miami. He is originally from Langston Hughes High School, just outside Atlanta, one of the best programs in the South. He's leaving the U after a couple of seasons. He will have, I believe, 3 years of eligibility left. Zaquan Patterson, former 4, or depending on which service you looked at, 5-star safety out of the University of Miami, is in the portal. He didn't make it happen there, but he's got 3 years of eligibility. That's going to be somebody with a lot of opportunities. Jaydn Ott, we discussed, one of the most explosive running backs in the country from Cal. He's in the portal. That will not take very long. Christian Fitzpatrick, this is an interesting player. I want to stop on him because I pulled up his stats. He has picked Oklahoma State. He was at Marshall. Kind of just went along his first 3 seasons, but he's 6'4", 220 pounds. And last year he had 34 catches, 576 yards, 16.9 yards per catch, and 6 scores. Oklahoma State, man, I'm telling you, they find guys. And when you get guys that are big-bodied like that to put into Gundy's offense with the way he schemes it up, that kid's got a chance to make some noise. Isaiah Augusta, this kind of surprised me. Colorado running back, enters the portal. I don't know what's going on there, but he's a talented kid from Naples, Florida. He can really run. Savion Riley, a safety from Colorado, is also in the portal. And then tight end from Colorado, Sam Hart, has entered his name into the portal. Big man, Demarion Thomas, defensive lineman out of Vanderbilt, 320 pounds. If he's at Vandy, obviously he's a good student. I'm sure schools like Duke, Notre Dame, Rice, Stanford, all those schools will at least be interested, and probably a lot of SEC and Big Ten schools as well. Austin Dean, linebacker from Georgia Tech, is in the portal too. As a reminder, again, there are so many guys entering the portal. I'm probably going to do another update later today. Definitely going to be adding on to the profile page on YouTube. Going to do some short profiles on guys that are key players. Might do something on Gio Lopez, etc. Key guys at the offensive line, I'm really going to focus on that because quarterback and O-line, those are the two that are most important to me. There are very few guys that get in the spring that are quality players, and then defensive linemen. Those will be the three that are the most. And then anybody like Jaydn Ott, I'll obviously do. Really talented player. I'll do a profile on him. There's going to be a tab for the transfer portal on the YouTube page. Just check it out. It's the very top. If you go to the main page for the Portal Podcast, it will be right there. Thank you again for coming in and checking out everything that's going on in the recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal space. It is a crazy time. I love doing this. It's a lot of fun. I hope you enjoy it too. Please like this. Please subscribe. And if you're on something like Apple and you can give a rating, please give us a 5-star review. I truly appreciate it. There's going to be a whole bunch more information. Got recruiting to talk about later today as well. Very, very busy time here on the Portal Podcast. Everybody have a good one. I will see you again soon.